upcoming general election. Those are the headlines in there for the news in detail. The Sultanate gained 16 awards in the 26th Annual World Travel Awards ceremony hosted by the Sultanate under the auspice of His Highness Syed Taimur bin Asad bin Tariq Al Said. The award distribution ceremony was held at the Royal Opera House, Muscat. The awards distributed included Best Natural Destinations in the World, Best New Centre for Conferences in the World, and the Best Regional Airport Award, among many others. A number of global tourism and aviation companies, including hotels, competed for 144 awards in the ceremony. The meeting of international participants in Expo 2020 started in Dubai City in the United Arab Emirates. The two-day meeting will discuss various topics related to difficulties facing the participants, as well as the preparations, services and facilities to be provided. The meeting also shed light on the completion of the works regarding the pavilions of the participating countries in the Expo. The Sultanate's delegation in the meeting was headed by His Excellency Engineer Mohsin bin Khamis Al Balushi, advisor at the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. The citizens in the Walai of Suwaik in the Governorate of North Batna organised a celebration on the occasion of the 49th Glorious National Day. The event witnessed a huge participation from members of the society. It included Omani traditional arts, poetic sessions and artistic performances, in addition to horse and camel shows as well as heritage exhibitions. The event came to embody meanings of allegiance and loyalty to the beloved leader and the dear country. Sur Hospital organised the first national conference on premature babies. It was attended by a number of physicians. It aimed to raise awareness among health workers about premature and newborn babies. Premature babies are born 3 weeks at least before the expected date of birth. The conference discussed ways to provide intensive medical care for this category. Different work papers were presented in the event that dealt with the latest medical developments in this field. Still to come in our news bulletin. An initiative aiming to determine the walking routes in mountainous areas used by the ancestors is adopted by the National Youth Committee. The Taliban said today it was way too early to speak of resuming direct talks with Washington, a day after President Donald Trump suggested negotiations to end America's longest war were back on track. Came during a surprise visit to Afghanistan. Trump yesterday told reporters during his unannounced trip to Bagram Airfield outside the capital Kabul to celebrate the Thanksgiving holiday with the troops that the Taliban wants to make a deal. Trump's statement suggested progress after his shock decision in September to end negotiations with the insurgents, just as Washington appeared on the verge of signing a deal with the Taliban that would have seen the U.S. begin pulling troops out of Afghanistan in return for security guarantees. Both Washington and the Taliban had left the door open to talks for resume. However, most observers agreed that a political settlement is the only way to reach lasting peace in Afghanistan after 18 years of war. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson told a radio interview with the LBC today that Britain would be out of the European Union by January 31st if he secures a majority in an upcoming general election. Johnson said if he won, he would get the withdrawal bill back into Parliament before Christmas, and they're definitely out by January 31st. Asked about how many post-Brexit trade deals his government has managed to secure, Johnson was unable to provide a number, saying many deals were not concluded because of Britain's continuing membership of the European Union. When questioned about Islamophobia in the Conservative Party, Johnson said he said things that have caused offence, while he is deeply sorry for that offence that he has caused. The UN Human Rights Office said today that the Iraqi security forces shot dead at least 24 protesters and injured 210 in the past 2 days in the Iraqi city of Nasiriyah, bringing the total number of casualties to 354 deaths and 8,104 wounded. Troops opened fire on demonstrators who blocked a bridge before dawn in the southern city yesterday, and the protesters later gathered outside a police station. So far, the authorities have been unyielding in response to the unrest, shooting dead hundreds of demonstrators with live ammunition and tear gas, while floating proposals for political reform that the protesters dismiss as trivial and cosmetic. UN Human Rights Office spokeswoman Marta Hurtado said they urged the Iraqi authorities to take much firmer and more effective action to ensure security forces do not employ excessive use of force, and in particular the use of live ammunition, as they have been doing repeatedly since the protests began. North Korea's state-run television KRT today showed photographs of the leader Kim Jong-un watching the latest projectile tests. As state media says, Kim shows great satisfaction over the latest tests of a large multiple rocket launcher. Photographs showed projectiles being fired from a transporter launcher equipped with 4 launcher tubes. North Korea fired 2 short-range projectiles into the sea off its east coast yesterday in a 4th test of its new super-large multiple rocket launcher. The latest test of the so-called KN-25 missile came as a Thanksgiving Day reminder to the United States of a year-end deadline Kim has set for Washington to show flexibility in their stalled denuclearization talks. The National Youth Committee adopted, in coordination with the Ministry of Tourism, an initiative that aims to determine the walking routes in mountainous areas which were used by ancestors for movement among wilayas of the Sultanate. As part of this initiative, the Nizwa Club Group Youth indicated the mountainous roads linking the wilaya of Samail and the governorate of Dakhlia with the wilaya of Nakal and the governorate of South Batna. The project will enable tourists and those who are interested in mountainous camping and trekking to use this route linking the 2 governorates and enjoy the beautiful natural scenes on the sides of this route. The Thai children walking on the zebra crossing look as if they're stepping from one whiteboard floating well above the road to the next, but it is just an optical illusion created by a volunteer group aimed at making roads safer for pedestrians. Up close, the trick of perspective is lost, but for any driver approaching the crossing, the sight of people apparently walking on free-floating whiteboards should make them slow to a stop. The zebra crossing was painted by students and volunteers with funding from Thailand's Government Savings Bank. During the past few months, they have painted 6 near schools and temples where there is always a heavy footfall. This is the Sultan of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Sultanate gained 16 awards in the 26th Annual World Travel Awards ceremony. President Donald Trump suggests negotiations to end America's longest war back on track during a surprise visit to Afghanistan. And Prime Minister Boris Johnson says Britain would be out of the European Union by January 31st if he secures a majority in the upcoming general election. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studio, it's good night.